Expo with Alexandra DeFelice, Senior Editor of the Journal of Accountancy. Alexandra, thanks for joining me.
No problem.
Everyone's trying to figure out how to recruit and retain and work with the youngest generation in the workforce now. I guess my first question is, what is it about the millennials that has the rest of us acting so nervous these days?
I think the biggest thing that I hear from the boomers and seniors out there is that the younger generations aren't afraid to say what they want, versus the older generations who kind of just did what they said and said if we do what our bosses tell us, then we'll eventually get ahead. I think the younger generations, they're not afraid to say, this is what I want and what is going to make me happy, and if you do this, it'll keep me. And what I found is that one of the biggest things is flexibility, work-life balance, which can mean different things to different people. So while the boomers probably want to be able to leave early to go to their kids' Little League games, some of the kids, and I'm not using this in a derogatory term, but the younger generations, they might want to leave to go to their own soccer games. And there's no reason that they shouldn't be able to say that they want that and that everyone shouldn't have that flexibility. It's just that the younger generation isn't afraid to ask for it, whereas the older generation sometimes will feel that they're not entitled to do so.
So there is some friction there. Is there a magic bullet to how these generations can kind of play nice and work together in a really cohesive way?
Well, if there's one word that works, it's communication. And it's constant communication. Because what I'm hearing, whether it's from the younger generations or the oldest, is everyone's just kind of segregating themselves and saying, kids these days or these old guys. If everyone communicates and says, this is what I want and this is how I work better, then I think that creates the best environment. And it has to be constant communication. Feedback after certain projects, and it gets into a cultural issue of how they deal with certain things and how they like to work. You know, one of the surveys that they come out with, which is interesting, is that the younger generation, who typically communicates via email and Twittering and text, 2/3 of them say that they prefer to communicate with their bosses face to face. And you might not think that, and they might not tell you that. And if you're their boss, you might assume that they want to be communicated with via email, and then they feel disconnected because they never talked about it. So especially if you're a smaller firm, there's no reason that you can't get together and talk about how things are happening, how projects are working, and what's the best way to communicate and make each other happy moving forward, and to experiment. If you did something and you thought it was a great idea to let all the generations work together and it didn't work, then try something new.
Well, Alexandra, thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks. Great to be here.